Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Rapid Recap and Inside Nebraska. With me as always, it's Tim Verghese. I'm Zack Carpenter, and Tim, got a lot to talk about, but we can't talk about it all in one video, one 10-minute video, so we're gonna keep it brief tonight, guys. First off, encourage you to like this video, subscribe to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel, get all of these videos dropped directly in your feed. Nebraska 28, Colorado 10. Just first thoughts. I mean,
yeah.
it's a pretty sizable win.
Sizable win, dominant first half, a lot of questions I think to be answered in the second half. Matt Rhule didn't seem super pleased with how that second half went, especially offensively, just not being able to capitalize, increase that lead, give yourself, a little bit of breathing room. But in the end, it didn't matter. Nebraska came away with that win.
Who cares? It was a dominant first half,
exactly.
man.
Very dominant first half.
They dominated, and the atmosphere in that building was exactly what you would think an atmosphere would be like of everything that was built up in this game, primetime game. It's Deion Sanders, it's Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, it's Colorado. This is the program that talks the most in the offseason. They did a little less going into the Nebraska game this time around, but they are a program that likes to talk. They like to carry themselves that way. They came in here and they got their ass beat. That's straight up what happened. They got their ass beat. They were down 14-0 in the first quarter, inches away from being 21-0 in the first quarter. Eventually it was. They had -2 total yards after 3 drives. Colorado looked pathetic in that first half, and Nebraska dominated them. And then they cruised in the second half. But I think what that says is about this game says is the separation level that Nebraska already has on that program.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, on one hand, I think it's just a reflection of, again, what a lot of people said, but within the Colorado fan base and media, that echo chamber over there was just like, okay, well, they've made all these offseason additions, they've done all of these things, and at the end of the day, it was like, okay, well, Nebraska spent 2 years developing their trenches. Nebraska spent 2 years developing the guys that were in the building, adding some pieces, adding Micah Mazuka, adding Ben Scott, adding individual pieces that were established, talented players to their line while continuing to build up the talent around them. And you saw basically 2 different philosophies, a development philosophy versus one that is solely reliant on the transfer portal, and how that turned out. And this program at Colorado, I thought it was a little interesting. Nebraska rushed the field afterwards. I understand the emotions of the game and everything, but at the end of the day, I don't think this is a win that Nebraska now deserves to be ranked.
I mean, I think they rushed the field because Colorado rushed the field last year.
Sure.
That's something that we keep in mind when it comes to that subject, because
For sure.
There was so much. Nebraska, other than Mekhi Bear, no one was talking. They were all business. Mm-hmm. But you saw in the post-game press conference with Dylan Raiola just the emotion, that the pure glee that he had in winning that game. It's his first big win. Mm-hmm. His second win, but first win in a big time spot. Mm-hmm. And you saw the sense of just pride and happiness from Ty Robinson. Tommy Hill didn't show the happiness, but that's because that's who he is. He's just very, very serious and stern. But you could see it. You could see that there's a lot of emotion poured into this game, and to come out and dominate like they did is just it's very impactful, I think, the rest of this season. But going back to your culture thing, building the trenches, the defensive line dominated tonight. I mean, Shedeur Sanders after the game said, "No, I didn't think the crowd had any effect on me personally," which, I mean, I don't think is true. But either way, the more important thing is that the Nebraska defensive line
from the start, pretty much from the start. It was pretty obvious from the start. There's a bit of a mismatch between Colorado's trenches and Nebraska's defensive line. That was something you could have seen on paper, just the size difference, the talent difference, and it just showed itself on the field today. I'm interested and curious to see for this team from here. They won this game because a lot of the focus going into this was Shedeur Sanders versus Dylan Raiola. And Nebraska gets out of here with an efficient day from Dylan Raiola, but not a world-beating day. Not like he didn't light the world on fire today. This was a defensive win primarily.
Dylan was 23 for 30, 185 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. He had
Very
two
clean day.
rushes for 11 yards. One of them was the third and 10 scramble for 12, or for third and 10 scramble for, I think it was 12, and to pick up the first down on the third play of the game for Nebraska's offense, first drive, and that leads to a touchdown. So efficient day, but
yeah, like efficient day for him, but they didn't need, it was a clean day from him. And again, like going back to even last year's game, if Nebraska just had a clean day at quarterback, perhaps that game goes a little differently. But today they got a clean day from the quarterback, and we saw how that went today. And this is a good confidence booster for Dylan as well. There's some things he can go back on film, look, adjust. There were some drops. There were some times where, he holds on the ball for a second too long, maybe misses an open receiver and kind of dumps it off short, where Nebraska ends up short of the sticks, but he had a guy open downfield. Things that are correctable. This is, at the end of the day, this is a second start for a true freshman in an insane environment, and again, like guys that have been in this program for years have said this is the best environment they've been. Like the only one they can even compare is Michigan versus Nebraska
in 2021.
Back in 2021. The other one that one player in particular, Dante Dowdle mentioned, was back when he was at Oregon, the game against Washington. So this was an environment that is up there in terms of recent college football memories for a lot of these guys. And so,
Oregon at Washington.
Oregon at Washington, yeah.
Okay,
but for a lot of these guys, this was a moment just for this team to kind of again like last week as well, like just celebrate. Again, they knew, and talking to this team too, like they weren't surprised by the outcome. I mean, Matt Rule himself said it. He wasn't really surprised by the score.
Dylan said we expected this.
Right.
He said we have the best defense in the country. I firmly believe that. Like going against them every day. I mean, you're right. From a statistical standpoint, it wasn't as impressive as his first game. But I also do think, I mean, he had the 45-yarder to Jalen Lloyd that Jalen dropped at his fingertips on the deep ball. I think that maybe changes the way we look at it a little bit. But like you said, he was clean, he was efficient, and I mean, Nebraska had 0 turnovers, no interceptions, no fumbles lost, no fumbles, period. They never put the ball on the ground. And then they forced 2 fumbles, recovered 1, got the interception, the pick 6 by Tommy Hill. So Nebraska, for the second straight game, 2 takeaways, 0 turnovers. They won the turnover margin 2 games in a row. They didn't win a single one last year. The best they did was 1-1 against Louisiana Tech. So, man, like, if you're taking care of the ball and you're letting these receivers work, if you're seeing Dylan start to process information and learn and grow, and he can win in that environment, things are starting to take off around here, I think. I mean, I said it was the national revival of Nebraska of the Nebraska football program. I didn't realize till like 20 minutes later that they had played revival by Zack Bryan on the field after the game. So those are the sorts of stakes we're talking about. Those are the sorts of impacts that winning this game could now have.
Yeah, and I've been texting with recruits all evening since the game ended. Nebraska had 45 or 40 plus visitors in town this weekend. Dozens more were watching on TV. When we get the TV ratings back, this is going to be one of the most watched games of the weekend. Dozens more recruits are watching from home, and all of them were just impressed with Nebraska's dominance. Again, like that was the one thing I think, especially offensive line and defensive line in the region noticed. Nebraska dominated on both sides of the line against a team that, for most of these recruits, they're either being recruited by, or they've heard a lot about, or that's a program that's like, oh, there's a lot of flash, there's a lot of things going on at Colorado, we want to be a part of that. Nebraska showed they were a better program today, top to bottom, just across the board, top to bottom. They have a young quarterback that they're going to be able to build around for the next couple of years. This is a program that's on the rise, and recruits are taking notice, and we'll have some of those reactions over at Inside Nebraska here in the next couple of days, interviews with top recruits in the country. Nebraska had multiple 2025 4-star receiver targets in town. They sure like what they saw from the offense today. And again, it wasn't the best day for Dylan Raiola just in terms of, blowing up the stat sheet or anything. But he was efficient. He got the ball to the receivers, and you saw even on plays where he wasn't able to get it downfield. There were plays where Isaiah Neer and Jamal Banks and Ja'Cory Barney are running downfield. There was a lot of plays in the second half that I think excited some of the offensive recruits in town. Plays that were called back because of penalties or certain things. And so there's a lot of energy around here. There's a lot of, I think, hype and energy. Just again, positive energy around what this program can be.
What did this program need? It needed an infusion of confidence. I mean, that's what Matt Rule talked about.
Learning how to win games. Learning how to win games. Like that's the biggest thing. Like confidence, learning how to win games. We kind of talked about as in a team before off camera leading into this game. Just the vibes around Lincoln, from the fan base to the players to the coaching staff. there wasn't a whole lot of nervous energy today, which in previous games there was. That Michigan game I referenced, you could feel there was a nervous energy of just like, okay, what's Nebraska going to do when the spotlight's on them? We felt it again at times last year. But today there wasn't that. There was confidence going in. There was quiet confidence from the team. There was confidence from the fan base. And that matters. All of that matters. And all of this matters in terms of building yourself up as a program, learning how to win these games, learning how to withstand, again, the adversity they faced in the second half. That Colorado team can score quick.
Mm-hmm.
And that Nebraska defense never really let up. Even at the very end of the game when Shedeur Sanders is no longer in the game and the backup quarterback's in, and they've pretty much punted on the game. They're not trying anymore. But there's still time in the game. Nebraska came up with their freshmen came up with a forced fumble. Willis McGahee, the fourth, came up with a forced fumble to kind of seal the game and put any other scoring threat to bed. Just an impressive showing all around. Again, there's some things to clean up from that second half. You get a bit of a tune-up game next week against Northern Iowa before heading into Big Ten play.
Show some respect for the FCS, Tim.
For sure. But
I come from the FCS. Northern Iowa beat Illinois State when I was in school.
And that's the thing. Like, again, Nebraska can't sleepwalk going into next week. That's a solid FCS program they're facing. But they get a bit of a tune-up game, get another opportunity to kind of dive in and play and really clear the benches again, playing 80 to 90 to even 100 players next week. So a nice little tune-up week after a big win.
It is going to be fun and interesting to see. I would expect them to win win easily against Northern Iowa, but it's going to be interesting to see like the level of game, like the hype and everything that this Colorado game was compared to the non-hype for playing a Northern Iowa FCS team. The levels are just not equal, so I want to see them come out and
can they bring their own energy?
What was it? BYOJ, I think we used to call it Bring Your Own Juice. It's going to have to be one of those games, like treat it like a Friday night game at Rutgers like they had 2 years ago. That Nebraska won 14-13. Good God, what a time. So again, that's going to do it for us. We just wanted to get out of here real quick, get you the nuts and bolts, some rapid fire thoughts. Again, encourage you guys to like this video, subscribe to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel. Get all these videos dropped directly in your feed. We got a run of shows. We got rapid recaps. We also got Black Shirt Breakdown, Recruiting Blitz, the Nebraska Football Show, great show, bold predictions. Got all of that running out over the course of Monday through Thursday. Encourage you guys to go to InsideNebraska.com. Our numbers are exploding, Tim. They're exploding. Just like the fireworks inside Memorial Stadium when Nebraska kicked the hell out of Colorado tonight. So for Tim Verghese, I'm Zack Carpenter. We'll catch you guys again next time.